For those of you who have been watching this channel over the last 6 months, you'll know that this site is dedicated to chronicling the history of heavy metal. Well, judging by the calendar on the wall, 2023 is just about history. That's right, your favorite metal historian is coming into the present to rate the top music of 2023. Tonight, the top 5 albums of 2023. Welcome, metal enthusiasts, to a special episode of the Metal Dude Abides. For those of you who have been watching the channel over the last 6 months, we have been discussing the great music in heavy metal history, going over 50 years of this great music. And tonight, we move into the present as we take a look at the best songs and albums of 2023. Tonight, we will tackle the albums, the top 5 albums that came out this year. Next week, we're going to talk about the top 20 heavy metal songs. 2 very exciting episodes, because even though we love the history of heavy metal, we still love heavy metal today, and we want to bring out all the new artists and all the great stuff that happened in the last 12 months. But before we get to that, this is a great time to subscribe to the channel. If you're new, just hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified when we get to the top 20 songs. Typically, we release a new video every Tuesday, and so hopefully you'll be able to join us for that. The other thing I wanted to say is this is Christmas season. This is the time of giving, and nothing it says love and giving like giving that special heavy metal friend of yours a free copy of The Metal Dude Abides. I'm lovely, I'm adorable, I fit inside a Christmas stocking, and best of all, I'm free. So tell a friend about this wonderful channel and make their Christmas season so much more richer. All right, let's get to the top 5 heavy metal albums of 2023. All right, as we get into the top 5 albums of 2023, let me just admit up front to a little bit of false advertising, because we're going to have 2 honorable mentions, because these 2 albums have to be on this list, and it just seems silly to do a top 7. So we'll do the top 5 and 2 honorable mentions, and it'll seem normal, right? So coming in at number 7, or honorable mention 2, no matter how you look at it, is the album Warlock's Grim and Withered Hags by Hellripper. This is Hellripper's 3rd studio album. It was released in February of this year, and it is Scottish speed metal. Now, I don't know about you, but I just hear Scottish speed metal and I'm signed up. It's very exciting. The brilliance behind this one-man assault is a man by the name of James McBain. He does all the singing, he does all the instruments, and he is one talented person who needs full acknowledgement on this channel. Now, I'm going to talk about a couple of songs on this album in particular, because every song on this album is good. But I want to acknowledge that there are 2 tracks on this album that are so outstanding. I mean, these are all-time classics. The first one that I want to talk about is I Deceiver. This has my favorite riff of 2023. I love songs that go fast, and I love songs that have great riffs. This has both. Spoiler alert, it's probably going to show up next week on the top 20 songs of heavy metal, just so you know. The other one is a song called The Hissing Marshes, which is also an excellent song. Again, 2 of the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life, let alone 2023. So, honorable mention number 2 goes to Hellripper with Warlock's Grim and Withered Hags. Our number 6 album we're going to discuss, and our first honorable mention, An album that I had for sure planned that this would make the top 5. One of my favorite albums of the year. The album Touchdown by the band U.D.O. Now, of course, U.D.O. standing for the initials of the lead singer, U.D.O. Dirkschneider. That's right, U.D.O. is back with his 18th studio album. Amazing. This album was released in August, and this album just happened to come out right after we had started the channel. So I actually did an album review of this album. So if you want to view that, I think if I understand the YouTube, there might be a little link that goes above my head right now. Check it out. It's pretty good if you want to know a lot more about the album than we're going to get to here. Now, I'm with you. I am shocked that we're talking about an U.D.O. album in the year 2023. And I was even more surprised because when I saw that, well, let's face it, kind of cheesy cover of an American football, I thought, oh my word, U.D.O. has jumped the shark. But let me just say, this album is terrific, blew me away. This is the best U.D.O. album since the late 80s. He has had a storied solo career that has been good, but I don't think it's approached this kind of greatness since the very first solo album, Animal House. And if you are not aware of U.D.O. Dirkschneider's history, before he started this hallowed solo career, he was the lead singer of one of the greatest heavy metal bands of all time, Accept. So if you like U.D.O., but you're not familiar with his work, go back and check out some Accept. In the early 80s, they were like pioneers of like the heavy metal, speed metal variety. And that's kind of where this album sits as well. Very traditionally heavy metal, but also a little bit of speed metal. U.D.O. likes to put the pedal to the metal, and he does so in here. One other cool note, if you like the drums on this album, it's U.D.O. Dirkschneider's son. So keeping metal in the family, always a cool thing. Talking about the tracks, the first 4 tracks on this album are all fantastic. Again, the album starts out great, super pace. Every once in a while, U.D.O. knows just the right time to kind of do a moody kind of change up, kind of get a little bit more dark, slow it down just a bit. He does that with the song Sad Man Show. Again, and then the back half of the album kicks back up and does a tremendous job all the way through, even through the finale. It's a great finale. The song, the title track, Touchdown. Again, thought it would be cheesy, but it's actually a great way to close the album. So coming in at number 6, one of my all-time favorite legendary singers and his band, U.D.O. Dirkschneider and the Boys with Touchdown. All right, let's get into the official top 5. Coming in at number 5, from the band Silosis, the album A Sign of Things to Come. Now, this is the 6th studio album from Silosis, and it was released in September of this year. This is a British band that's defined as a kind of a combo between thrash and melodic death metal. The lead singer, Josh Middleton, is a very talented singer. Really, his vocals really caught my ear as a selling point for this band. They released 4 singles off this album. Deadwood, Poison for the Lost, the title track, Sign of Things to Come, and Descent. All 4 of those songs are located in the very first of the album, which again, those 4 songs are just rippers. Very good. Hard to really choose one, but if I had to choose one of those songs that was my favorite, it would be Poison for the Lost. Excellent track. There is a deep track on here that's also in the first of the album called Pariah. Really like that one as well. And finally, the album really has a stunning, epic closer. A Godless Throne is the perfect way to end this album. Again, much like all the albums we talk about on this list, Not a bad song on this entire album. Really great performance by Silosis, and they come in at number 5 with A Sign of Things to Come. Coming in at number 4 is the album Descent from the band Orbit Culture. This is the 4th studio album from Orbit Culture, and it was released in August. It is of the Swedish death metal variety, and they released 3 singles off this album: Vultures of the North, From the Inside, and the title track, Descent. Kind of ironic that the 2 bands back-to-back that we've discussed both have singles this year called Descent. I'm detecting a theme here. Anyway, this album blew me away. Solid from start to finish. All of the singles I just mentioned are great. A couple of deep tracks to also wet your whistle on. Find in the later half of this album, but songs I really love a lot. Alienated and The Isle of Fire. 2 really fast-moving, heavy-hitting songs. This is a terrific album, and it comes in this year at number 4, Descent by Orbit Culture. All right, let the controversy begin. Coming in at number 3, 72 Seasons by Metallica. This is their 11th studio album. It was released in April, and this is going to get a lot of controversy. There's a very diverse opinion about Metallica and this album. So let me just say that no, this isn't the prime 1980s, early 90s version of Metallica. But I do believe that this is the best Metallica album since the Black Album, and maybe even since And Justice for All. Of course, Metallica are widely known and widely popular. They are the kings of the American Big Four thrash movement. They're known for their for thrash and speed metal. But the controversy is that a lot of people are, have been upset with Metallica for a while. Let's just put it to you that way. And no, this isn't the heaviest album of the year, but it is a excellent album, and I believe it to be one of the top 5 albums of the year. But feel free to put comments about this album. They released 5 singles off this album. Lux Eterna, which is my favorite song on the album, and spoiler alert, will probably show up next week on our top 20 heavy metal songs. Screaming Suicide, If Darkness Had a Sun, the title track 72 Seasons, and Too Far Gone. Now, love them or hate them, Metallica and this album received 3 Grammy nominations for the album, 72 Seasons, and the song Lux Eterna. So, again, this is a very decorated album at this point. Many people point to the very dark and tortured lyrics of this album. Praised James Hetfield for really opening up and making this album very personal. I think Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield really stand out on this album. If you're looking again for like 1980s Metallica, this isn't it. I kind of think of this as like the Metallica meets the Ramones, because it's much more straightforward, much more, just put the pedal to the metal and get going. Not a lot of changes, not a lot of tempo variety. They get in there and they just cook. And they cook through this whole album. Again, start to finish, a great album. And it comes in at number 3, 72 Seasons. From, while controversial, no doubt, one of the greatest heavy metal bands of all time, Metallica. All right, coming in at number 2, the album Foregone by the band In Flames. This is In Flames' 14th studio album. It's amazing they've been around that long. This album came out in February, and this is our second melodic death metal Swedish band. The vocalist for In Flames, Anders Frieden, has one of the most unique voices in heavy metal. I like his clean vocals, but I also like his dirty vocals as well. Very talented vocalist. The thing about this band that I love is they can be both heavy, but again, also they can turn on a dime and just put the most catchy melodies you've ever heard. One of the things I love about In Flames is after you've heard their songs a while, you find yourself humming a song or singing a song. You're not even really sure. You stop for a second and say, what am I even singing right here? What's in my head? And you realize it's In Flames. And you realize that after a few listens to this album, it will literally burn into your psyche. You'll just start singing these songs with your subconscious. It's so catchy and so good. They released 5 singles off this album. A State of Slow Decay, which is tremendous. I love that song. The Great Deceiver is good, and kind of a title track, I guess, because they have Foregone Part 1 and Foregone Part 2. Both are also excellent. Their last single was Meet Your Maker. And again, this is my favorite track on the album. Again, this is one of those songs you'll just hear me, out in the garage, just humming this thing along. And spoiler alert again, probably shows up again in our top 20 next week. And then, everybody who knows me knows I love a good album opener, but a great closing song is also fantastic. In Flames pulls it off with End the Transmission, a great way to close out the album. So again, coming in at number 2, Foregone by In Flames. Now, for those listeners who know me, for those listeners who have been paying attention over the last 6 or 7 months of this channel, you can probably guess who's coming in at number 1, because they are literally my favorite band right now and have been for several years. But I want to say this before I tell you who it is. Yes, they're my favorite band. Yes, I love them to death. But this ranking is not nepotism. This is earned. This is clearly the best album of the year. So without further ado, the number 1 album of 2023 is from my favorite band, the beloved Avatar, and their latest album, Dance Devil Dance. Now, if you are familiar with my channel, right after this album came out, we just started kind of doing the channel, and I did a discography where I ranked all the Avatar albums. And again, I'm going to hope this works, but if you want to see about if you want to learn more about Avatar and go through all of their great albums, check out that link. If that doesn't work for whatever reason, at the end of this video, stay to the very end, and I'll put that link in there with another chance for you to subscribe as well. Man, how do I start with Avatar? They are on a Hall of Fame level run. They have put out 6 straight classic albums. These albums are so good. And I will just say that when you get into a run like this, even though they're all very good, some really stand out. Dance Devil Dance is one of those. It really stands out, even amongst the great Avatar albums. Johannes Eckerström he's the best vocalist in heavy metal today. Everything he does is great. The thing about Avatar is that they are always mixing it up a little bit. Brilliant stuff. Like, you go from one song to another song, you just don't know what you're going to get. But by the time you get to the end of it, you've had a full meal, right? It all works. It all blends together. They put out 2 singles off this album. The first is the way this album starts, Dance Devil Dance. It's the title track, and it's the tone setter for the whole album. This song is so good and so fast and so great. The second single, The Dirt I'm Buried In. Listen, everybody, I don't know what's going on out there, but this song, I actually heard it on the radio the other day. Is Avatar finally going to get some commercial success? If they do, it's well earned. And this song, while it is more commercial, perhaps, it is getting radio airplay, it's still a great heavy metal song. It's not a sellout song. It's not a cheesy song. It is actually a very good song that just happens to be radio friendly. But neither of those songs are my favorite track on this album. My favorite is a song, Gotta Wanna Riot, a peppy little song about cannibalism. I know. Right now you're saying, what? Trust me, it works. And the cannibalism is tongue-in-cheek. And I will guarantee you that this song, no spoilers needed, will be in the top 20 songs of 2023 as well. As far as the closing track goes, we talked about the great opener with Dance Devil Dance. We talked about my favorite song. But the closing track, for those people who love Lizzie Hale, is a duet with Johannes and Lizzie called Violence No Matter What. That's a great way to close an album. And this is the #1 album of 2023. Avatar, still the greatest band out there right now, the most brilliant band out there right now. And this album really showcases both how talented they are, and again, what brilliant songwriters they are, and how they construct albums is phenomenal. So, the #1 band, Avatar. The #1 album, Dance Devil Dance. It had to be. Well, that's the list. You even got a bonus couple lists on this top 5 list. Next week, you don't want to miss this episode, folks. The 20 greatest heavy metal songs of 2023. And let me tell you, it was difficult to narrow this list down to 20 songs because there are so much good heavy metal music in the year 2023. You're going to love each and every song that I bring out to you next week. So be here next Tuesday, and we will get to that list. And before you go, and if you're waiting around for that Avatar, also at the end of this video, subscribe to my channel. You'll get alerts, and you'll always know what's going on. We try to put out stuff weekly. You don't want to miss that stuff. Yeah, 2023 is great, but when we turn over into the new year, we're going to be getting back into the history of heavy metal. We've got some exciting stuff coming up. So subscribe to the channel. Until we meet again, this is the Metal Dude. Take care.